major news in the social media world. And it's the kind of changes that could be made if all companies get on board that could be life-changing for young people, even life-saving.
Yeah, this is the hope that this is the start of something. As you know, as I know, as John knows, this is the issue of the time for parents. And it is the front page story in papers across the country, Mika, that Meta is backing down now in a multi-state lawsuit claiming it built addictive platforms that are dangerous for children. The company has agreed to pay billions in penalties, a fraction, yes, of the company's total valuation. And it does not have to admit wrongdoing. Meta did make some important concessions to its products. MS Now's Nick McCool has details.
I'm pleased to announce that Meta has reached an agreement.
This morning, a landmark settlement. Meta agreeing to pay up to $17 billion to settle their case against dozens of states over claims it built products that are addictive and harmful to kids, then misled the public about them.
The framework we've negotiated will empower parents to easily manage their children's access to our platforms.
The parent company of Facebook and Instagram also agreeing to a series of protections for users under 18, including daily time and nighttime limits, muted notifications during school hours, and hiding like counts on posts.
In one sense, those are really impressive stipulations, but on another sense, if you look under the hood, a lot of them, I'm a little bit worried, are going to be pretty easy to work around.
Meta says nearly a third of the settlement, roughly $5 billion, will be withheld unless other social media companies also pay penalties and change their apps.
This framework will only work if all our peers join us. Because teens move fluidly across dozens of apps, we need an industry-wide solution.
Is this social media's big tobacco moment?
For sure.
New Jersey Attorney General Jennifer Davenport was one of the lead AGs on the case. She says the fight for accountability will not stop with Meta.
Anytime profits are put over the safety of our kids, we're going to act.
Critics of the deal say Meta settled for far less than the hundreds of billions the states were seeking. But Davenport says the agreement secures vital protections much sooner than a verdict would. Meta, meanwhile, gets to end a proceeding that featured potentially damaging testimony before CEO Mark Zuckerberg was expected to take the stand.
They got a pretty reasonable settlement here, but they really got dragged through the dirt in the court of public opinion. I think a lot of people have pretty negative views of Meta right now.
While this deal ends the Attorney's General case against Meta, thousands of others press on against the company and its industry peers, despite the massive settlement for parents like Victoria Hinks, who blame social media for her daughter's suicide.
No amount of money is ever going to bring my beautiful daughter back. I miss her every day.
Both sides say Meta will be independently audited for compliance under the terms of the agreement. Meta's stock was up about 1% yesterday following news of the deal after taking a major hit around the start of the trial. Back to you.
MS Now's Nick McCool reporting. And Mika, yes, $17 billion, a relative drop in the bucket for Meta, which is a company that's worth about $1.5 trillion. But the details, the concessions that they made, hopefully will set a standard now for other companies that will follow suit.
Well, I think what they're hoping to do is be a leader now in this. That's what we'll be watching for. And there'll be a lot of questions about exactly how this is monitored, how success is assessed. But I can report exclusively this morning that people familiar with the conversations with the AGs and Snap will tell me that Snap will be accepting these new standards shortly, even possibly by Friday. So that's 2 companies now out of 4 that really could change the game for young people across the country, around the world. And, you know, Snap following Meta's lead. Now the question is, what about YouTube and TikTok? Because if all 4 got on board, Meta says there's a 3-hour time limit, or, you know, several hour time limit a day. I think it's 2 hours actually, for teens, but they would bring it down to 60 minutes a day. If all 4 companies get on board, that would be life-changing, life-saving for teens and young people. But again, exclusively, we can say Snap on board by Friday. That's what we're hearing from the conversations with the AGs. But the question is, where is YouTube and where is TikTok on this? So joining us now, Attorney General of Massachusetts, Andrea Joy Campbell. Her office was part of the nationwide investigation into Instagram's impact on young people that formed the basis for the initial lawsuit. And what I'd like to start with is the concept that Meta put out there in their statement, which is that for this to really work, other companies need to step up as well. What are you hearing about that possibility? And do you agree that it needs to be a collective set of actions to help make our young people healthier instead of having them become very, very psychologically impacted by social media?
First, good early morning, and I'm just really delighted to have been a part of this multi-state effort to hold Meta accountable. And let's be clear, they didn't come to the table willingly. It was the action of AGs across the country that forced accountability here. We launched our investigation into Instagram in 2021, and then we filed our lawsuit against them in 2023. And earlier this year, Massachusetts led the way with a significant legal decision from our highest court here that Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act does not prohibit them from our lawsuits. That was a game changer in leveraging this work to get them to come to the table, not only to give billions of dollars, of course, in resources to our respective states, but also to make design changes immediately that would protect our young people. But it is the first step. And the additional step is just making sure that other platforms also come to the table. We have an ongoing lawsuit against TikTok, and so we're continuing to hold them accountable, and we'll force other platforms to do the same. And what cannot be missed, legislation, including here in Massachusetts, which is pending, is a critical tool to also hold them accountable, to force changes across all platforms.
So Meta says they will be putting these processes and changes into place immediately. I think they're waiting for the judge to sign. But what about these other platforms? Where are you in the litigation? Are they feeling like, especially YouTube and TikTok, since Snap appears to be following Meta's lead here, where are you with those other two platforms? Because to get them all working together, that's the real change.
Absolutely. And this is where advocacy of the public and, of course, AGs comes into play. Our active litigation against TikTok will be a unique opportunity to force them to also bring about protections for our kids. We also have legislation pending here in Massachusetts that can hold all platforms accountable, not just Meta. And YouTube is not out of reach either. And so we agree that we have to make sure we're holding all tech companies accountable. And of course, not only through our litigation, but through legislative efforts. And let's be clear, AGs did something that was remarkable. We acted when Congress couldn't. We, of course, acted when the president is not in any way looking to protect our kids from big tech. And we'll continue that leadership. This is only the first step. And parents and educators and kids should know that.
Attorney General, thanks for being on this morning. The next question is enforcement. When you think about Australia's ban last year, which made international headlines as the first national ban of social media for kids under 16, studies recently have shown about 70% of kids in Australia still find a way onto those platforms. They're smart. So how can we ensure that these will actually have teeth and that they will prevent kids of a certain age from being on these platforms for too long every day?
We followed what was happening in Australia, and when we came forth with these protections, including a new age assurance process to ensure those under 13 or 13 and under cannot use the platform, and then under 13 cannot use the platform, 13 to 18, that these protections were in place, we will hold them accountable. We have a monitor that we will set up to ensure compliance over future years, and we will continue to watch this progress in real time. We also recognize the benefit of these platforms to young people, including folks in our LGBTQ plus community. That said, it creates community and relationship for them. But how can we have safe technology while also holding them responsible and accountable for any harms they cause our young people? So this is the first step in what will be ongoing work to hold tech companies accountable for harming our kids.
First step in what could be a big movement now that protects kids. And I know a lot of parents, millions of them across the country, are grateful for your leadership and that of other attorneys generals across the country. Attorney General of Massachusetts, Andrea Joy Campbell, thanks so much for being here this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
John, we can talk about the politics of this, but I think we should talk as parents real quickly. We watch this. Our kids grew up in this era where they are native to this, that the head goes down immediately when there's a moment of boredom or silence. You go right to the phone. We do our best. You keep the phone in the drawer. We love that our school doesn't allow phones in schools anymore. All of those things have been helpful. But this has the potential, if enforced correctly, to be a massive swing in the way kids use social media and therefore protecting their mental health, among other things.
It is heartening to see how the sort of conventional wisdom on this has changed in recent years, no doubt. And that the school's a great part of it. I'm glad you highlighted that. But sure, you go on like my son plays soccer where we had some road trips, and at night, everybody, the phone's got to go away. And there's grumbling, there's unhappiness, but it's the right thing to do because you're right. There's so often one of our children has a moment to themselves. It's like bang, scrolling aimlessly. And we're tough on this. We limit screen time. We try to limit this social media. But this is helpful. And it's an acknowledgement from a massive company forced to say, look, we get it. This is a problem. So the hope is this will lead to others down the road. Yes, there's going to be enforcement questions, to be sure. We'll have to see where the politics of this go next. But Mika, this is a heartening change because we have talked on the show for years now about just how damaging, social media can be. How important it is for, frankly, a child to be bored. Like that's when you learn to be creative.
Yes.
That's when you think, when your imagination runs wild. You want to be able to learn how to interact with people in real life, not just on screens or via messaging. So this feels like an important step, and let's hope we continue down this path.
I mean, there are big questions about how to verify age, especially with much younger people. But anyone with teens and college students knows that it's also the stuff that happens in the middle of the night, 24-hour social media and the algorithms, which isn't addressed in this, but that they feed into and can lead to, as many have assessed and experts have assessed, depression, anxiety, even suicidal ideation.